Hello friends, this is Ammu Jayaraj. So today we shall see how to approach mains questions. That is, if the mains questions are being asked, how to structurize your answer according to the questions. So in this session, we shall see the structurization part. At the same time, we shall see certain questions as examples being asked from 2019 and how to write an answer for that particular question. That is the structural part we shall see in this session. So, so I'm Ammu Jayaraj and my All India ranking is 141 in the Civil Services examination of 2019 and my optional subject is Geography. So regarding subscriptions of Unacademy, you can either go for Plus or the iconic subscription if you are interested. And for both the subscriptions, you can use this referral code which is AMMU. If you use this, you will be getting 10% off. So we shall talk about how the presentation of the answer should be. This applies to the 10-mark question as well as for the 15-mark or 20-mark question in the optional papers also. So first of all, we need to start the answer with an introduction. So for the introduction, whatever being asked, like in the question, if there are two parts, you should cover the two parts also in your introduction. But the introduction should be only of 2 lines, not more than that. So you can either go for a definition. If something being asked about CAG, Controller and Auditor General, you can just mention the role of CAG. What is his major role? And regarding polity or any paper, like even gender studies, other papers, if any article you can include, very well and good. Don't think that articles has to be presented only in GS2 paper. You can include articles even in GS3 as well as GS1 paper. In ethics also you can include. And then if any statistics to be accommodated, that also you can do. So your introduction, I already mentioned that it should not go beyond 2 to 3 lines. So in that, very well, you need to define what it is, and if any articles or statistics are there, that also you can accommodate. After that, if at all the question demands some diagram, you can draw a diagram which could be of anything. It can be a map or flow charts or graphs, whatever it is, world map, Indian map, anything it could be. So that you can include, you can very well mark or locate the things being asked in the question also. And then comes the major part, which is the body of the answer. In the body, you can actually divide the answer with the subtitles according to what is being asked in the question. If in the question they have asked 3 parts, means you should have 3 subtitles. And then you can even include statistics, case studies, judgments in the case of polity paper, that is GS2 paper, examples you can quote. Again you can come up with diagrams if anything, like flow charts, or again Indian map you can draw. So that all these things you can include in your body part. And then you can go for the conclusion. You can end the answer on a positive note. If at all possible, you can come up with some solution also for that particular question. Okay, so this should be the major presentation, or otherwise the structure of your answer. Now we shall go to the sample questions which were asked in 2019 mains examination. First question is about the 1857 uprising was the culmination of the recurrent big and small local rebellions that occurred in the preceding 100 years of British rule. Elucidate. So first of all, it is about elucidate. So you need to explain the answer. So you should talk about the big and small rebellions, local rebellions that had happened. That is the first one. And then you need to talk about the 1857 uprising. How it got culminated with the 1857 uprising. So your answer should cover two things. One is about the rebellions and then about the 1857 revolt. So in the introduction, you talk about the occurrence of small and local rebellions before the 1857 revolt and how it triggered the 1857 revolt. In two lines, you just talk about that, and then you come up with a diagram, that is draw India map, and then locate all the major local rebellions that happened before 1857, such as you have Santal rebellion, then Munda rebellion, Sannyasi revolt rebellion and all. So all that things you can, then some tribal revolts were there, all that you can mark. At the same time, you can also locate the 1857 hotspots also. You can differentiate that from the rebellions happened before 1857 by shading those hotspots. Okay. And now comes the major part, which is the body part, where you can talk about the local rebellions. You can give examples and you can give the reasons for such rebellions, and then how 1857 revolt came into existence and how is it different from that of local rebellions in terms of unity, regional presence, leadership, popular support, military support, etc. These were all that we saw a kind of improvement in terms of unity. In terms of regional presence also, other small local rebellions were localized in nature, but at the same time, the 1857 revolt, you can observe a unity there. That is, the whole North India, except for certain pockets, unified and came against the British rule or the company rule. So you can talk about that, and then about the leadership. Like this, in terms of all these things, how the 1857 revolt was different. Like that, you can explain. And then you can conclude on a positive note, like how 1857 revolt was highly significant in the case of Indian freedom struggle. Now comes the second question. So in the second question, they have asked about discuss the factors for localization of agro-based food processing industries of Northwest India. It's not about India. It is only about Northwest India. So first of all, in introduction, you talk about how the food processing industries are in India or in Northwest India and how it is benefiting. That is, it is providing social and economic benefits in the region. Like this, you can talk about the food processing sector in Northwest India. Then you come up with a diagram. You can either draw the whole India map itself, or you can just focus on the northwestern part of India alone. And then you locate different types of food processing sectors in the region, centers in the region. Like there can be vegetables, that is the Haryana Punjab belt. Then you have milk, which is the Gujarat Rajasthan belt. And then fruits, oil seeds, etc. All these things you can just locate it. Now comes the body part. So they have asked about the factors for location. So generally, if factors are being asked, you need to cover all these things. Not just for the agro-based industries, if for any of the questions, because there is one particular, in the syllabus also, there is one particular portion covering factors for location of industries in GS1. So you can talk about all these factors. First one, climatic conditions, then raw material, and if at all it is something related to agriculture, you can talk about topography, soil, etc. Then the labor, how the labor is, whether it is cheap labor, skilled labor, like that you can differentiate. And then about the connectivity, the road, rail, waterways connectivity from market to the raw material, or like that you can talk about the infrastructure. And then comes the government policies. Regarding government policies, You can talk about what kind of incentives are being given by the particular government. If at all some kind of incentive being given for cooperatives or economic zones and all, or food processing zones, that you can very well mention. Then you can just give the conclusion. Now comes, what is water stress and how and why does it differ regionally in India? So there are two parts. One is about water stress and then how it differs regionally in India. So in the introduction, you give definition for water stress. That is non-availability of water for usage. And then statistics of on water stress in India. This you can very well get from Niti Aayog reports, Kurukshetra and all, what cubic feet of water is available, per capita availability. And below certain, I think 2000 cubic feet or something, if below that means it is water stress. So like that, you have lot of statistics. For that, you can refer Niti Aayog reports or Kurukshetra. And you can even mention that, you can quote that on your answer also. That is, according to the Niti Aayog report, the water stress in India is this and that. Like that, you can quote that. And then comes the diagram part. In diagram, draw India map. Locate all the water stressed regions like Marathwada, Rayalaseema, Punjab Haryana belt, Northeast, etc. Now comes the body part. They have asked about the reasons for the variations. So if this is a geography related question, so you can go for natural factors and anthropogenic factors. If at all they are asking something like reasons, factors for any question, you see how to differentiate it, like how to structurize that answer. So, if it is geography related question, as I earlier mentioned, you can go for whether there are natural factors and man-made factors. If it is something like a general question, you can divide it into different dimensions like political factors, social factors, economic factors, geographical factors. Like that, you can divide the answer. So please don't write everything. Like you should write in a very streamlined way. So if you are giving titles, subtitles like this, political factors, then you write down the political factors, reasons. Then you go for economic factors, write down the economic reasons. So if you are doing like that, your answer will look very structurized. Otherwise, the points will be in a haphazard way, and the examiner also will not feel that your answer is well structured. So there are high chances of you losing marks on that way. So in this case, it is a geography oriented question. So you can go for natural and anthropogenic factors. In natural factors, you can talk about rain shadow regions. You can again draw India map and show how rain shadow regions are facing water stress. And then rainfall deficiency, surfaces, that is rocky surfaces means infiltration will not be there. So water table will be low. Then salinity, coastal regions, what issues they are facing. Indicate certain examples. So again, you can use diagrams. Regarding anthropogenic factors, you can talk about the urbanization, the concrete jungles being created, water pollution, especially in the UP belt, deforestation, sand mining, change in cropping pattern, which is being observed in the Maharashtra, that Marathwada, Vidarbha region. So all that you can mention. Then you can conclude by giving how to overcome water stress. Certain solutions like all this watershed management, command area development, rainwater harvesting, like that 2 to 3 points you can give it as conclusion, some kind of a solution. Okay, so now comes the next question. Are we losing our local identity for global identity? So it is only discuss. So you can write on both the aspects, whether the local identity is being lost for global identity or whether we are retaining the local identity. So you can divide it into two parts. So first comes the introduction. You talk about how local cultures are prevalent in India and how the global identity is gaining significance in India. First through colonization, the impact of colonization, and then now it is through globalization. Okay, so this should be the introduction. And now coming to the body part, you have first one as I said, how local identity is losing out. You can talk about the dressing pattern now, like your attire. There is a change. Now we use a lot of Western dresses like jeans and all. Even though we have tropical climatic conditions, we use jeans. And it is mainly because of the impact of colonization as well as globalization, mainly globalization. And then change in the food culture. Then about the endangered languages, we mostly now rely on English. So certain languages are getting endangered because of that. And loss of cultural identity like theaters, classical music, dance forms, etc. So we are mostly now relying on the technology, so all these puppetry shows and all is losing lot of relevance now. So like this you can subdivide your answer. Now comes, are we really losing our local identity? So in that you can talk about how we are celebrating traditional occasions. Even now we wear traditional attire on that particular day and celebrate it. How yoga is gaining significance again. Yoga day is being celebrated now. And how we are protecting our cultural identity, like our language pride, and recording the endangered languages, documenting them, and primitive vulnerable tribal group, how we are protecting them, all that you can talk. Then you just conclude saying that it is not just we are having local identity also, even though globalization has impacted a change and all, has brought some changes. However, we are taking lot of measures to preserve our local identity. Like that, on a positive note, you end the answer. Now comes, despite consistent experience of high growth, India still goes with the lowest indicators. So high growth is there, but still India has lowest indicators of human development. Examine the issues that makes the balanced and inclusive development elusive. Okay, so what are the issues we need to examine? So, introduction, you talk about how India's economic growth rate, it is how it is now, and present a graph showing how it is, like some kind of representation. And then you say that, however, there is economic growth in terms of human development, the indicators are really low in India. Then you go for a diagram exhibiting all the indicators such as HDI, sex ratio, child sex ratio, maternity mortality rate, literacy rate, etc. And then you write the statistics also, the status, that's the position now for India. And even if you know the rankings of India in all these gender inequality index, HDI and all, that also you can mention in a table. Like this, you can draw a table and you can mention that. Okay. So all these statistics you will get from Niti Aayog, that strategy at 75 report. Otherwise, in Yojana also it will be available. You can make use of that. And now comes the body, where you need to talk about the issues that make development elusive important. So first one is about population burden. So heavily populated. So what is the population, such as like how much in you talk about, you give statistics on population and what are the problems caused due to population. Inequitable distribution of wealth. You say that around 10 percentage of the wealthy people in India hold around 30% of wealth. All these statistics you can very well include. Regarding unemployment, you talk about the unemployment rate in India and why this unemployment rate is so high in India, that you can talk. Then about the education, because the education, you need to improve the education side to get more employment opportunities. So what is the expenditure spent on education? Then infrastructural gaps, schemes not reaching the targeted population. So this below poverty line people population is not well targeted by the state government. So the schemes are getting leaked. So about that also you can include. So like this, you give subtitles and explain each and every point with statistics. If you have any diagrams also, you can represent your answer in that way. And then for conclusion, again you come up with some practical solution to this answer, which is not being asked exactly, but you can conclude the answer with one practical solution with a general point. Okay. Now comes the reservation of seats for women in the institution of local government has had limited impact on the patriarchal character of Indian political process. Comment. So it is all about reservation of seats for women. Whether it has only limited impact on patriarchal character or whether it had really any kind of impact, any kind of improvement is being seen. So this is what we need to comment. So you can talk on both the sides. That is how it has not created any kind of impact on patriarchal character and whether there is any kind of improvement. So you start your answer with an introduction where you can talk about the constitutional provisions on reservation of women, reservation for women, that is the 73rd, 74th constitutional amendment, then all this article 15 and all you can mention. And then regarding body, first one is about prevalence of patriarchy. Still there is prevalence. You can talk about how this backseat driving being observed. You can give examples like in Nagaland, they are resisting women entry into local government, so that you can talk about. And then women are having limited exposure on politics, so their decision making is not very efficient, so people are not having enough trust nowadays. So about that also you can talk. And then it is not very well reflected in state and parliament election. Even now we have very less representation of about 10, 11 or 12 percentage only. Then again you can talk about the gender inequality index, how political representation play a major role in the index, and we are not faring really well in that index also. So that you can talk here. Then you can talk about what are the, whether it is having limited impact or is there any improvement being observed. In that part you can talk about the leadership improvement. Then you can talk about various case studies like how the Kudumbashri project in Kerala is gaining significance. It's mainly because of the reservation, women reservation being done in local self-government, and that has really triggered this Kudumbashri project. And then you can talk about the efforts of women sarpanch, no sarpanch in Haryana to improve the sex ratio, and how community watershed management being done in Rajasthan by women officials like women representatives, and then improvement in access to education for women, how all these things being done by women. So women are coming up, however it is not in a very faster pace, that is what you need to say. So how to improve further? So this as a conclusion, you can talk about training to be given, political training, political awareness to be given to women, and how to improve the women's representation in state and parliament. So like that, you can give the conclusion. So I have discussed about 5 questions being asked in 2019 CSE exam, mains exam. So this is the way you need to structurize your answer. So hope you like this session. Thank you so much.